I was meeting with somebody recently who has the zuchus of making a wedding soon, making a chasana. And there was some friction, there was some tension between the two sides and trying to work out some of the details. And they asked me, what should they do? What should they do? And I said, very simple. Just give in. Let them do what they want. What difference does it make? And the only answer that they could provide is, but I don't want to be a shmatta. I keep giving in, I'm going to be a shmatta. So I asked, why not? Why don't you want to be a shmatta? Who would want to be a shmatta? Why would you want to be a shmatta? And as much as naturally we don't want to be a shmatta, there is a tremendous maila, there's a tremendous benefit and praise for this midah of being mevater, of giving in to one another, giving in to somebody else. And I saw a beautiful ha'ara this week from Rav Druk Shlita, and he suggests as follows in terms of our parsha. Yaakov tells Lavan that I want to marry Rachel. I worked hard. She's the one that I married. This was the deal that we made. And as Rashi tells us what happens, Masar Yaakov the Rachel simanim. Yaakov knew that Lavan is a bit of a trickster. He's going to try to pull some sort of shtick. So he made a code. He made some sort of simanim that he was going to give over to Rachel so that Lavan should not be able to play any games. When Rachel saw that her sister Leah was being replaced and in her stead, and saw that she was going to be embarrassed, Amra, my sister is going to be embarrassed. So she gave over the code, she gave over the signs to Leah so that she should not be embarrassed. And that's what the pasuk said. And only in the morning did Yaakov Avinu realize that in fact it was Rachel. Now on the surface it seems to be that Rachel gave in and she lost out. She would have had the zuchus of being the only one to marry Yaakov Avinu. And she would have been the one to first marry Yaakov Avinu. And she just gives up all that. She's just making herself into a shmatta and she is losing out. But Rav Druk points out that in fact, yes, she gave in, but she didn't lose out at all. Because by being a mevater, you never lose out in the end. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu works out things that in the end you end up gaining when you give in. Because what happens? Rachel Imenu is called Rachel Imenu. She is the one. We don't refer to Leah as Leah Imenu. She's technically one of the imahos, 100%. But that title is reserved for Rachel over Leah. And it's surprising because who had more children? Who contributed more to the Shvatim, to the growth, to the populace of Klal Yisrael? Leah had 6. Rachel only had 2. And yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu worked it out. That it's in fact Rachel who gave in, that she gave up that first lot, she becomes Rachel Imenu. She is the one that Rachel mivaka al baneha. She's crying over her children. Who are her children? It's not just the people that come from Yosef and Binyamin. All of Klal Yisrael turn to Rachel as Mama Rachel. She has this zuchus. And what did it come? What did it come from? It came from the fact that she was willing to give in. Because this is the yesod. When we're willing to be mevater, when we're willing to give up to maybe what we're entitled to, HaKadosh Baruch Hu works things out that in fact that we gain. But interestingly, he points out that you see the exact same thing with Leah as well. Where do you see it? Torah tells us that when the imahos were having the children, va'achar yalda bas v'tikra es shema Dina. Leah has a daughter and calls her name Dina. And Rashi comments from Chazal from the Gemara Brachas on Daf Samach. Why Dina? Shedona Leah din matzah. She judged herself. Im zeh zachar. If in fact I give birth to another son, lo teirach achusik achas hashvachos. Then I'm going to have 7. Bilhah and Zilpah already have 2. The max amount they knew of Pinavu was that Yaakov was going to have 12. That means that Rachel can't have more than 1. She's going to be lower than the maidservants. I don't want my sister to be embarrassed. And therefore she davened. Vispala alav. She davened that the baby inside of her that was a male should become in the cave of a nepach, and the cave of HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle, and in fact turned into a female instead. So she gave up. She could have had another shevet, and she gave it up for Rachel. So what happens later? What happens later? Chazal tell us, who did Dinah give birth to? that Dina Yoda as Asnas. Asnas, Sheyardo Mitzrayim Nesla Ishtos Yosef, Yodalos Ephraim Umenashe. Asnas was the one who descended from Dina, and she ends up marrying Yosef. Who comes from Yosef? Ephraim Umenashe. What does the Torah tells us in the end? What does Yaakov Avinu tell us about the Shvatim? That Ephraim and Menashe become two Shvatim, Kiruvain v'Shimon Yehuli. She was willing to give up a shevet, and what happens? Her descendant turns into an extra shevet. She gets that extra shevet. She gets, in fact, the two Shvatim when she was in Vatar one. That is the koach. Is it easy to be a Shmatta? It's not easy to be a Shmatta. It's not something we desire to do, but the ability to be mevater and to realize that in the bigger picture, standing on principle, because this is what I'm entitled to, is not what is going to get us further in life. But the ability to let go and the ability to allow others to be mevater, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his calculations, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his cheshbonos, and he makes sure that in fact we are rewarded for the fact that we are trying to keep shalom.